Now, there's no doubt about it that ever since we got the Mando Season 3 official trailer, a lot of fans have been very excited about the future by Jon and Dave and exactly what they are about to really unveil to the fans with this latest season and the setup for the Ahsoka Tano series and how that's really going to play a large role in really setting up more spin-off shows that's really going to expand the Star Wars roadmap. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new and like this video to see future Star Wars updates. I'm also on Twitter at Mike01. I thank you all so very much for the kind and great support. Now, one thing that we do know about Jon and Dave is that they really are all about providing fans as much Legends content as possible. That's what they're all about. They love the expanded universe, is what it was really called back in the day, and they want to really bring that to the current canon under Disney, and it's going to take a lot of time and effort and work, I understand that, but at the same exact time, they're very well aware that what they are doing is going to be extremely valuable to the fans and to Disney if done right, and if they play their cards correctly, they can really continue to make Star Wars a very valuable product instead of one that has a divided audience or fandom, whatever have you, right? So, with that being all said, one major thing that they're currently working on right now is the second season of Ahsoka. Now, they've been creating a lot of storyboards and a lot of illustrations and pitching it all over to Disney, and thankfully, Disney's very close to actually greenlighting a second Ahsoka season to continue the story because they're just so impressed with what Jon and Dave did with the first one already. However, with that being all done and said, that brings us to, of course, the main subject of what the Ahsoka Tano series is about to do when it comes to a massive retcon toward the sequel trilogy. Now, with Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni getting ready to make some drastic adjustments behind the scenes over at Lucasfilm, they are also getting ready to make heavy announcements for fans. As of now, both Favreau and Filoni are getting ready to retcon the sequel trilogy, especially with the ending of The Rise of Skywalker, that is set up to give brand new meaning to the end of the film. In a recent storyboard that was created for Ahsoka Season 2, since Disney is getting close to a greenlight phase for the second season, the illustration involves a complete retcon of Episode 9's ending, placing in the fact that Rey actually entered into the world between worlds when she was reaching out to the Force ghosts on Exegol. Jon and Dave are making it canon that Exegol has strong ties to the WBW and even the astral plane, which is the netherworld, and is said to be what the Sith cultists were mining for. Now, let me just pause here for a second. I can see why Jon and Dave are especially using this moment as a retcon because it fits so perfectly. And why it fits so perfectly? Well, if you take a look at the scene where Rey is saying, be with me, and her eyes are flickering, and after her eyes flicker, you see nothing but blank space and bright stars, just like we see in the world between worlds. And basically, Jon and Dave are taking advantage of that vision, or of that visual effect, and making it officially canon that Rey was in the WBW when that actually happened. In fact, you can see the environment around her transforming where she's looking at Palpatine's lightning, and it just dissipates, and she's in the WBW. That's what Jon and Dave are currently actually doing as we speak for Ahsoka Tano's Season 2, that's going to actually put Rey in there at some point in time, somehow, some way. Again, they're about to retcon multiple events in the sequel trilogy movies, and multiple characters' decisions as well in the sequel trilogy films with Ahsoka Tano Season 2 that's going to change the overall timeline. And this is just one of them. This is just one of the many scenarios that Jon and Dave are working on for the second season of Ahsoka. Now, that brings us to the next big thing, of course, is that given that Jon and Dave are also providing retcons toward the sequel trilogy, they're also providing a bigger explanation to the fate of Ben Solo in Ahsoka Season 2. So, you guys may recall that J.J. Abrams specifically wanted to leave it very vague about what happened to Ben, including Lucasfilm. They did not ever specifically say what happened to him in the novelization, word for word. So Jon and Dave are taking advantage of that and basically they're creating another big retcon toward him as well. Let's continue. Now, this major retcon for Episode 9 that will be featured in Ahsoka 2 is set to also provide fans that Ben Solo actually entered into the world between worlds as well when he vanished after giving his life force to Rey, and that John and Dave are trying to give Ben a different fate than originally intended by Kathleen Kennedy. Ahsoka Season 2 is said to hold the most retcons toward all sequel trilogy content, either directly or based on what characters do during the Mandoverse that will reflect on all of that. Now, let me just pause here quick for a second before I get to the next big thing about this, is that we already know that John and Dave are trying to really turn things around when it comes to the current state of the fandom, how the fans are all divided. The fans are very much, in a split state right now. They want to make sure that they can reunite the fans again. So basically what they are on a mission for is by changing the overall meaning and the lore and the canon of the sequels. A lot of this is going to have to do with Rey, Ben, Luke, Palpatine, Rey's parents, stuff like that. And really kind of upping the interest level of the sequel trilogy lore and the canon. Now again, Ahsoka Season 1 is going to meddle with the prequel trilogy lore, but it's not necessarily going to change it forever, per se. We already talked about that big leak of how Ahsoka is going to go into the world between worlds to do something very special with Anakin Skywalker, especially. And we'll talk about that a little bit later, but the thing that really grabs me the most out of all of this is how two things: they are completely reframing what Rey was going through at that point in time when she's actually calling out to the Force Ghost, and also that they will be providing fans an official explanation of what happened to Ben Solo, and they're going to make him live somehow, some way. That he entered into the WBW, and that he's been there, but he's not necessarily a Force Ghost, stuff like that. And as we all know, John and Dave also hinted that the world between worlds has some kind of time differential, where time could very well go very slow there or very fast there. We're not quite sure, but there is some kind of time differential to the regular mortal realm. Now, obviously, this is all a complex thing that's going to be settled out piece by piece in the first season to make fans better understand the world between worlds, because as of right now, there's a lot of unwritten rules about what you can do and what you can't do in the world between worlds, and that's going to all be fleshed out in the Ahsoka Tano series, so just be aware about that. So there's a lot of great things coming out of this. I mean, they're doing an excellent job, really kind of being very direct and vocal with the fans, and how this is basically something that is indeed happening as we speak with the storyboards that are being provided to Disney's higher-ups, and how John and Dave are literally just an inch away from getting a green light on the second season of Ahsoka. It's gonna happen. So, anyways guys, drop a comment below. Let me know what you guys have to say about all of this below in the comments, and if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you all so very much for the kind support, and I'll catch you guys next time.
Gun in hand, we are alone again. No, I'm not one from night